Welcome to Park and Listen, the official monthly podcast of the Hyde Park Central School District. Each month, we bring you timely updates on school district news, policy changes, and important announcements straight from the source. Stay informed about student activities, student highlights, academic achievements, and special events happening across our schools. We'll also share behind-the-scenes insights from district leaders, staff, and students, giving you a closer look at the changes and initiatives shaping our community. Whether you're a parent, student, staff member, or neighbor, Park and Listen is your go-to for staying connected and engaged with everything happening in the Hyde Park Central School District. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the conversation because together, we're building a stronger school community. In the beginning of the 2025-2026 school year, K-12 public school districts, charter schools, and BOCES in New York State must implement a bell-to-bell ban on unsanctioned use of smartphones and other internet-enabled devices during their entire school day. This means, I know this sounds a little scary, but this means from the first bell through all instructional and non-instructional time, homeroom, lunch, study hall, passing periods. The law is part of New York's FY 2026 state budget and aims to create distraction-free environments that support students' mental health and academic performance. So with me to discuss these new changes coming to the 2025-2026 school year, I have with me our Director of Guidance, Malissa Reeder.
Hello, everyone.
I have also with me our class of 2026 graduate and student board of education member, Lauren Barrett.
Hi.
And last but not least, our proud superintendent of Hyde Park Central School District, Dr. Pedro Roman. How
Present
are you?
in the house. Glad to be here.
I was really glad to see you all. Thank you all for joining me on today's podcast. And I am your host for today's episode. I go by Michael Davis. I am Hyde Park's instructional technology support, aka help desk guy. So if you ever need anything technology-wise, don't be afraid. Give us a call. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Roman, on this. This is a huge change. And I know it could sound scary to a lot of parents. Students may just not know. What's your thoughts on it, and how do you feel about New York State implementing this new policy?
From a parent's perspective, I can understand where parents have some concerns about reaching their children, especially throughout the day. And as a student, I know firsthand that that's sort of like another appendage for children, right? Because they lean on it, whether it's for school-related matters or just social matters. And so from those two perspectives, I can certainly empathize and understand where folks may be coming into this conversation with some reluctancy. And so for me, as an educator, I'm putting that hat on. I could see where we've had some challenges where devices do create distractions. Whether I'm for it or against it, it's a mandate that we have to implement. And so, with that in mind, we always have to make sure that we put the conditions in place to be able to roll a mandate out successfully.
And Lauren, this might come as like a culture shock, right? I mean, you've gone almost 3 years of high school. Now you're coming into school and we have this policy. How do you feel you can adjust?
My biggest thing is probably that it's my senior year, and I've made memories that I can take a picture of. So for my senior year, I won't be able to do that during the school day. But my biggest thing, and even for my mom, was that I can't be in contact with her during the day. And I agree with Dr. Roman that it's a safety concern. But even I'm texting my mom hey, I'm staying after school today. I'll be home at 3:30. Letting her know when I'll be home so she's not worried. But overall, I'm not on my phone during class or anything, so it won't be that big of an issue for me.
Do you feel like there's any ideas that you could possibly share with the board or share with, the principals, the superintendent about how can we use this in between classes to try to check in with family members? How is this going to work where I feel a little more safe?
I feel definitely during passing period, people should be able to use their phones, or if they have a lunch period or a study hall, when there's not actual instructional learning going on. I feel that would be the best way to do it.
Director of Guidance,
Yeah.
Melissa Reeder. Now, as this being a culture shock to students, you work very closely with, the social workers, the guidance counselors, how they handle student mental health. How do you think this policy is going to affect students, and how do you think that your counselors can approach the students?
Yeah, I think I also have a very unique perspective on this new policy, because I used to work in the New York City public schools, where there was once upon a time the principals of each building were given the ability to decide whether or not they wanted to be a cell phone free school, and it just so happened that my principal decided that we were a cell phone free school, and it was. I will say that it was a little bit of a contentious thing. Students wanted their phones, but we were able to hold strong to the principal's vision to not have phones, because we made it accessible for students to be able to access their families, to access whoever, a person in the building that they were connected to, so that if they were in need of anything, there was a support right there. If they needed to make outreach to say, hey, mom, dad, guardian, I'm going to be late coming home, we offered a space for them to be able to make those phone calls and to make those connections. They weren't without computers or technology during the day, but as far as their cell phones, they had to be stored, locked away, or they weren't allowed. They were really, in essence, not allowed to be in the building at any time during the day. We managed, and it worked out, and everybody was fine. Everybody survived the day and made it home safely. And if there was any reason for us to connect, and as we're a school system. If there is an emergency, notification is going out, quick, fast, and in a hurry. And if there is any need for us to be in communication with our families, communication is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think the community should definitely rest assured that that what might be perceived as limited access to your child during the school day is really not going to be as limited as you would think. If you need to get to your child, you will get to your child.
Multiple means to get to them.
And I can almost feel, and I'm excited about the building of relationship that's going to occur now, because we will know and have clearly defined relationships between staff members and our students. And not to say that doesn't exist now, but we will be relying on each other in a different way because we don't have that device in the middle. So whether or not I agree with the policy or not, if that was even a question to me, I just think that we will manage and we will make it. We will be successful.
And I truly do like that where you said you feel like the relationships are going to grow a little bit more between staff and student. Do you feel, Lauren, that being that the cell phone policy stands, that you would feel like more of a connection will be built between you and your classmates as well?
Yeah, I feel like it kind of forces people to talk to their peers.
Dr. Roman, are there any requirements that had to be approved by the board for the policy recently? Or
Yeah, so according to the governor's legislation around the distraction-free policies that school districts had to implement, you had to create the policy and it had to have been approved by the board on or before August 1st, meaning, there's a first reading, second reading. For us, we took it as an opportunity to really engage our community. So we really put, the Screenagers Town Hall out. We welcome folks to come in and have the conversation. We had certain schools reading the book, The Anxious Generation, to learn more about the impact of being in front of a screen for however many hours you're in front of the screen. So I feel like we've taken this challenge and looked at it as an opportunity for us to grow and learn and see how we can best implement this policy moving forward. To a point that was made earlier, we really value student voice and we really value student agency. And so I appreciate Lauren's statement about, perhaps having some flexibility with the policy and allowing for communication during passing times or lunchtime. Unfortunately, the legislation does not allow us to have that type of flexibility. It's very blanket, in terms of the start of the bell from homeroom all the way to the end of the day. Now, after school, that's something that we don't have. We don't have any intention on putting any additional restrictions around that.
That's a great statement, because
yeah,
that was going to be my next question. I was
Yeah.
wondering, hey, what happens to the students that want to stay after school for art classes,
Right.
track,
Right.
baseball, sports?
Right.
Would that policy apply to an away game for students?
Yeah, so the policy does not address anything that happens beyond the end of the day school bell. So anything after school, anything on the bus ride home, anything in away games, home games, that is student choice.
You see, Lauren, that means stay after school every day. That's it.
Stay after school.
Hey,
but
you
when
can
the
take
bell
as many
rings,
pictures, right, to
Exactly.
memorize, to have memories of senior year.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do have a question. Would that still apply if you have a field trip during the day and you're going away?
So it would because it happens during the school day, and a field trip, in essence, should be a learning experience, right? So that's why we have approval processes to make sure that there's a tie-in between the field trip experience and the curriculum.
Okay.
Good question.
So a big part of this podcast is that we wanted to focus a lot on community engagement, and the community has spoken in terms of this cell phone policy. And we got a community question that says, has any thought gone into the fact that many students are chemically addicted to their device? How will that be handled when they refuse to comply? How can we make this a teachable moment?
Yeah, so
Melissa,
I guess
I want to start with you on that one.
That's definitely up my alley. And you heard Dr. Roman mention before a very popular book. It's a bestseller, The Anxious Generation, that many of our educators have participated in book studies and also probably have read, just because it is that popular, and it is giving us some really great information about what our children, our students are experiencing as a result of this, oversaturation of device, access to devices and so on, and social media and different things like that. And one of the lead researchers, his name is Zach Roush. He's really been talking about how technology has had this negative impact on mental health, and said that bans like the ones that we're proposed or has been proposed, can help our children to overcome some of the addictive behaviors and tendencies that our children are experiencing or showing us.
Do you feel like the word addictive is kind of like a trigger word?
So let me say this out loud, and then we can, because what I'm struggling with is that I don't want us to become, as educators, I don't want us to be diagnosing our children, our students, because addiction, to me, addiction has a diagnostic, it is very diagnostic, and we don't want to be unfairly assuming that because our students have this overexposure, there's the words, overexposure of, to cell phones and devices, that our children are addicted to them. We want to be careful of making those connections. However, there are lots of studies that show the harm that cell phones and the overuse of cell phones are, there is a negative impact to our students' mental health. Isolation, loneliness, feeling disconnected are among the what our students are faced with and are expressing as concerns with their mental health.
And it also goes to note that your iPhone will literally send you a message every weekend telling you how much screen time you've used.
Yes.
Which is interesting as well.
Absolutely.
So that kind of plays into all of this, no?
Absolutely. And I think that, we sometimes take for granted how much we do use and rely on our technology.
Yeah.
And, to note that if students are experiencing any sort of chemical addiction, I think is imperative. It's, incredibly important for us as educators to recognize the science behind addiction in the same way we would be thinking about vaping, in the same way we would be thinking about alcohol use, drug use, in those ways. We want to take that, the terminology, the thinking behind what an addiction is, and be very thoughtful about what that really means. And so when we think about like what we want to do to support our students through overcoming potential addiction, like there also is this idea that if you know of anyone who has struggled with addiction, say for drug abuse, when you take something away, there's like a withdrawal process. There's like there are things that we will notice in our students if there is an addiction that we need to be thoughtful of, and we have to really be ready and poised to be able to help our students in that way, and thinking critically about what consequences are going to look like versus mental health support and wellness, and making sure that we're armed with all of the tools that we need as educators to be able to support our students appropriately.
So one thing that I failed to mention earlier, which is critical, and you just reminded me, thank you so much, is that the exception to this policy is twofold. Number one is for any health-related matters that are documented, such as a student may have diabetes and needs to monitor their glucose. That is allowed. That student is allowed to have their device if it's a monitoring device for the health. So that's first and foremost. And secondly, if a teacher, we still want to provide teachers the autonomy to do what they do in their classroom, right, as it relates to instruction and what instructional tools are needed. So to Lauren's point, if a teacher requires that in their curriculum, they're still allowed to do that. All right, it would only be for that particular classroom, and the expectation is that there will be, the cell phones will be put away immediately thereafter in the lockers.
That's actually a really great point.
I feel that we're gonna have like these pockets, right, of students who are going to follow the expectation with no issue. We're going to have some students who may struggle a little bit at first, and then we're going to have a small group that's going to really struggle with following through with the expectation. And with that, just like if a student's struggling with reading, if a student's struggling with math, right, we have to teach them the skills to be able to sort of operate under this new norm. Right. And so I think for us I think we're poised to put in the structures and supports necessary in a tiered system of support.
Absolutely.
So that those that need more support will get more support.
And I feel like as a parent, like me as a parent, right, I feel more anxious than like my child would. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. And I think we are in a position where we have a community schools family resource center. And so like hearing that, I already want to think about like how can we engage our parent liaisons to support our families, because they too may need some support, especially with access, right? Like 24 access to students during the school day. What kind of supports can we offer our families as well?
Yeah. With that being said, Lauren, do you feel anxious? Do you feel as there's like a fear to this?
I think I'll be like listening to like engage with the teacher and the class. I won't be really thinking about my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just like with anything, we have to learn and teach our students and our educators like what it means to like create healthy habits around this new norm, right? How to minimize fear and anxiety, and also be careful of diagnosing words like anxiety, right? Like minimizing those feelings, and helping students to see and helping their families to see that there is a safe space in this, and that we as adults are going to we're poised to be able to not only educate their students on a regular basis every day, it's what we do, but we also are here to wrap our arms around and create that level of support and safety. So we can hopefully work together as a community. And I think any town halls or any time we are asking the community for support, our students to give us feedback, it's so that we can learn and take that feedback and apply that to what it means to wrap our arms around you and create that safe space around you, so that we could move away from those fears and those big feelings about this and be able to move forward successfully. Anything new, and especially when it comes wrapped in a mandate, is challenging and it's scary. And having conversations like this are incredibly important for us to be able to, from the mental health perspective, be able to process. So I think that, as we continue to have conversations, there's going to be some skill building work that needs to happen. There's going to be some interpersonal connections that are going to need to be developed in order for us to really, move forward in the most positive direction.
How do we get the teachers and staff on board to really implement this policy as well? Do you see this more of like a hard no or a soft no?
I know one of the questions that I get from families is, so what are the consequences, right, for students or even educators? What are the consequences? So I think first and foremost, going back to the skill building that Malissa had mentioned, I think that that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we continue to focus on, that every opportunity that we have to intervene, it's an opportunity for us to teach. It's an opportunity for us to have another conversation with a student. It's another opportunity to engage. Mm-hmm. And so, the first instance where a student may struggle with that, the approach is going to be to have, the administrator intervene and have conversations with the student, making sure that they understand the policy, giving them a copy, walking them to their locker so that they put the device away, because that's what has to happen. The legislation and the policy do not allow for cell phones to be stored in your book bag. It has to be in a locker, mm-hmm. right? We're not going to be here searching book bags, right? But that's the expectation, that all the cell phones are in lockers. The second time a student, has perhaps a challenge of putting the cell phone away in a lockable space, the second is to, again, get the administrator involved, whoever the grade level administrator is, and at that time, remind the student, walk them to the office where the device will be held in a lockable unit. So the first time you had it, right, you had an opportunity to put it in your own locker. The second time will be a unit that the administrator has, where basically it's like a different slots, and there's an individual key for each slot. And the student puts their cell phone, let's say, Mike Davis, the second time I'm speaking to you, you have to lock your phone up to the end of the day. Here's the number. You put in number one, slot number one. Here's the key. We lock it up. We have the key for that, so that there's only one key per lockable unit. So right there, again, opportunities to learn, to have conversation, to teach, and to engage families in that process. And again, that second time, a parent or guardian will be notified. Communication, consistency, right? Yeah. Because wherever there's a lack of those two, then there's gaping holes in the process, and there's no compliance, right? And again, I think part of it is talking about to Melissa Reeder's point about the purpose of this and understanding the science behind it and the intent of it, so that there are distraction-free, learning zones in our schools. Yeah. Right. Can we stop 100% of it? No, I mean, there's just there's not enough staff to supervise every nook and cranny in a building, right? But the expectation is that, that the majority of students are following this, and for those that are going to struggle, there are still, steps 3, 4, and 5 that we have, so that third step is, again, locking it up until the end of the day. But this time, instead of the student picking it up at the end of the day, parent or guardian has to come pick it up.
Oh,
right. So now we're engaging the family, in the process, because now we've given you an opportunity to show that you are mature enough to handle and follow the expectations. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now we're up to step 4, where again, each step is reminding the student of the policy, lockable storage until the end of the day. Parent will be notified again to come pick it up. So parent or guardian. So getting the families involved is going to be critical, because we're going to have to work in partnership, and we have to do this. It's a state mandate. I firmly believe that the majority of the students will follow through on the expectation.
I think so too. And I mean, we, Lauren herself says, hey, I'm okay with this. This is fine for, students, staff, and parents. Just know that this isn't something new. Other schools, other states have been a part of this. As of June 2025, in addition to Washington, D.C., states with cell phone policies in schools are Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, all 50 states, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. So it's not something that Hyde Park Central School District decided to just do today. It's something that has existed and it's happened, and
statewide.
It's statewide, and it's not
It's national.
Yeah, and it's not anything to keep you away from your child. It's nothing to stop the student from being it. It's just a distraction-free learning environment that's going to help. So, I mean, I think we should turn on our positive hats, put on our positive hats, and say this is great for the community. I personally feel like it's great for the community.
I agree. I agree. I think
Scary,
that
but-
anything new is scary.
Yeah.
And I think that if I was hearing something that Dr. Roman said earlier, was this idea of bell-to-bell instruction, or maybe you said it.
Yeah.
And
No, it was me.
it was you. Yeah. Yeah,
Are you
take your
sure?
credit.
I'm positive. I'm
Are you
positive.
sure?
I'm
I felt
positive.
like I said that a
Well,
few
one
times.
of the brilliant minds in this space
Then it was me.
had used some very powerful language of what it means to be an educator in a classroom with the requirement to be, facilitating instruction from bell to bell, which means that there is also the requirements and the rules that apply to students and learning and what it means to be a student from the minute the period begins to the minute the period ends. And just like in any class, if you have to raise your hand to go use the bathroom or see your counselor or see an admin or take a walk, the rules apply in the same way. If we are finding that this time is being utilized to access phones when they shouldn't be accessed, then that's why relationships and having access to people who can help a student in the need thereof, and also say, okay, I think that there might be a little bit of something extra going on here that we need to intervene at a more therapeutic level. If we at the school level, we can step in and do that. In the same way that our teachers monitor how many students during a particular period raise their hand to go to the bathroom, it's the same way that we would potentially be doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's something. It wouldn't be an extra lift. It's just a little bit of an extra understanding of the why behind why a student is asking to leave the classroom, and what we can do to re-engage and remotivate to come back and get back to work.
Absolutely.
In class.
So let's close out, right?
All
Let's
right.
close it out. Are there any final thoughts that any of you have? And I'm going to start with you, Lauren. as our student liaison to this cell phone policy. Any thoughts? Any ending thoughts on this?
I think it's going to be a lot to adjust to for students and even teachers because they incorporate cell phones in the learning experience. But I think in the end, it'll help everyone overall.
I think so. And how about you, Malissa Reeder, our Director of Guidance?
So from my perspective, I really just feel like we have to begin the work of reframing. We want to make sure we're being mindful of the terminology, addiction and anxiety and all of those things. But we also want to move beyond, like, this is a behavioral issue to supporting students who might need it from a social and emotional learning lens, and to always lead from a space of being supportive and therapeutic if necessary, and also providing education, understanding the science, and being as restorative as possible in our approach.
All right, and thank you, everybody, for listening. Just kidding.
Really?
That's not what happened.
I just gave him the eye.
And closing thoughts from our proud superintendent for the Hyde Park Central School District, Dr. Roman.
First of all, say thank you to everyone that was here today. Appreciate your time and your thoughts. And for me, as a system leader, change is challenging, but I really feel as though when you have a clear vision, clear communication, and you allow for that dialogue to happen, like we're trying to create multiple modalities for that to happen, I think it eases the change process. And so, for that, I applaud our team. I applaud our team here, and just want to say thank you. And we're always welcoming feedback, in this process. So we certainly
Awesome.
aim to do some great work.
Absolutely. So I just want to say thank you all for coming on this. And as we said, this is Park and Listen, our monthly podcast for the Hyde Park Central School District, bringing you community news from not only the community itself, but staff members, students, directors of guidance, and all facets of the Hyde Park Central School community. Thank you all. I am Michael, your help desk tech guy. Remember,
And so much more.
thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Hyde Park Central School District's Park and Listen can be available on YouTube by going to the HPCSD publicity page. We also will be driving this communication through Parent Square. Subscribe and listen. Subscribe and listen.